Alright, so in this video we're going to go over how to reach market equilibrium from a surplus or a shortage. And this is going to include an example. So in this example, there's a certain company that sells lamps, and this is their demand and supply schedule um, for an average week. And let's take a closer look at the demand and supply when the price is $30 a lamp. So let's let's just graph this out. So here we have the graph of the supply and demand in the chart. So what we do is we take a closer look at when the price is $30. So what we do here is we plot the points of the amount demanded in relationship to the price, and another dot of the supplied in relationship to the same price. So over here we have the price, because the graph is lamps is price in terms of lamps. It's because the graph is comparing the price and the lamps, and the quantity, demand, and supply are the number of lamps. We can make an ordered pair that has the amount of lamps and the price in the ordered pair as well. So what we could do here is for the quantity demanded over here, we could clarify that as 30, 40, and for the one supplied, it would be 30, 80. So the one demanded would be this one over here, and the one supplied would be this one over here. So now that we've found what the 2 points are, we determine whether it's a surplus or a shortage. In this case, there is more supplied than more demanded. There's more supplied than demanded, which means that the company didn't sell all of their lamps. So what this is the company would be at a surplus when the lamps are $30 each. So now that we know it's a surplus, how does it reach the market equilibrium? Well, remember, the market equilibrium is when the supply and the demand crosses each other, which is over here. And the way it does so is these two values reach closer and closer to the intersection. And because they both go down, that means that the price comes down. So the surplus is eliminated when the price goes down. And what happens when the price goes down is that you can see as the supply order pair goes closer to the equilibrium, the quantity of lamps decrease, while in the demand curve, the quantity of lamps increase. And this makes sense because as the price goes down, the demand for the item usually goes up, or the demand for an item goes up, and when the price goes down, the supply also goes down as well. So the goal in reaching the market equilibrium is to have these 2 points pretty much be in the exact same spot. And in this case, that exact same spot is $20, and that is when the company has 60 lamps and the demand is 60 lamps. Now let's take a look when the company chooses a price range that results in a shortage. So let's choose $15 over here. So the values that will be on the chart for the demanded curve, in terms of the demanded curve, would be when the price is $15, the demand would be 70 lamps, and in supply, when the lamp is $15, there will be 50 lamps supplied. So you can see, again, our goal is to try to reach the middle. Our goal is to try to reach an intersection. That is the market equilibrium. And in order for these 2 points to reach the middle, they're going to have to move up this way. And from this, when the demand for lamps is greater than the quantity supplied for lamps, this is when there's a shortage. That's like if a company only has like 10 water bottles and the people want like 50 of them, then there's not enough for everyone, so there's a shortage. And the way the shortage is eliminated is when the price goes up, because as you can see, for these 2 points to meet up at the same spot in the intersection, they do that by they do it by going up. They do that by going they do that by raising the price. So what happens when the price is increased? This means that the amount of lamps supplied would increase, because it's a positive slope going this way. So when price increases, the supply increases. And when the price increases, that means the demand decreases as well. So visually, that's what happens when these two points meet up over here in the middle, where the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. Now let's take a look at another example where the company is selling lamps at 20. That's when the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. But however, let's just say, for example, light bulbs are on sale. So people would want to buy. So there's a greater demand for lamps. So this will be the new demand schedule. And this is the new demand schedule on the right. So let's graph what the new demand schedule looks like. Because the amount of lamps demanded increased by 20 for each price range, we could shift the demand curve 20 units right for each of them. So this is our new demand curve. And what we're trying to find here is what happens in the original equilibrium. So this is the original equilibrium, and because the demand curve shifted to the right, the original demand curve is no longer existing. So and the new market equilibrium is over here. So what happens? Well, let's just clarify a couple of points first. So remember before how when there's a surplus or shortage, there are 2 points on there's 2 points, one on the supply and one on the demand curve, and those two reach market equilibrium when they're basically on top of one another. Well, when you go from a market equilibrium to a surplus or a shortage, it usually occurs when the supply curve or the demand curve shifts. And because the point on the supply curve and the point on the demand curve are basically on top of one another, when a supply curve or demand curve shift, then the point goes along with it. So let's say in the original equilibrium, the point is over here. The supply and demand point are basically on top of another over here. But because the demand curve shift over, the point in the demand curve is over here. So now, when I erase the original demand curve, and just saying the supply curve point is still here because the supply curve did not shift. So when I remove this, we can see that this is the shortage, because the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied. And the way to eliminate this shortage is to increase the price so that the 2 points would move up to reach the point where they overlap, the market equilibrium. And let's see what happens when the price increases. So when the price increases, the quantity supplied increases as well, but when price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. And yeah, that's what happens when a market equilibrium ends up becoming a surplus or a shortage. It eventually finds its way to return to market equilibrium.